Okay. Okay. So you wanna be a hero kid? Well, whoop-de-doo. What you're left with is something entirely not new. Oh, should we do this one? I don't know. Let's go a bit more crazy. Do 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 do. All of these are it's a little bit hard. I'm gonna take another roll. Oh, why not? Why not? Big fan. Muse are really good, and they have become somewhat maligned for several good reasons. But they have some really good music. They do really good performances. It's all good, apart from some things. Let's see how this goes. Okay, pretty straightforward. Two parts in the keys. One is going like that, while another is doing essentially the opposite thing. Okay, so one's going up, arpeggios, and then back down. Up first, down afterwards. The other's going down first, up afterwards. And so together, I cannot do this on a guitar. Let's see. Yeah, that's the idea. So they're doing that, and they're going in the opposite directions to each other. And that makes it feel a lot more sort of thick textured than it actually is. It's really just those two parts. They're going between two different chords to begin with. So we have an E minor chord and a B major chord. 1 in minor and 5. Lovely. Very classical, as we might expect from such a band. Do that twice, and then we get this one. Not quite so classical. It's a C chord and then a G chord. So it's like we've gone to the relative major, but then immediately straight back to the B, taking us back to the beginning with the E minor. Okay, pretty straightforward, but a little bit of a journey all of its own. Straightforward arpeggios played in two different directions at the same time. It's nice. Okay, so we that keyboard was still there. Added now was bass and another piano. The piano is doing something very similar to this, up an octave, up there. I think it's only the top line of it though, so it's not both the low line and the high line. It's just the one that descends first. So it's just that one. Not the not that one, or that must be doing something like that. Whatever. It's not that one. It's the one that comes down first. Okay. Nice stuff. So that's being repeated, and with maybe some chords. So something like that. So it's coming down. da, chord, 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 chord. Okay, so it's doing something slightly different but extremely similar, but it's doing it up an octave as well, and that adds another octave. It also makes it a little more sort of spooky sounding, because we've got that tinkly piano on the top, sort of Tim Burton-esque, or sorry, Danny Elfman, Nightmare Before Christmas-esque, I guess. And then the bass is doing something totally different, but still to the same chords. It's doing this, which is a much less classical sounding thing. It's not arpeggiated per se, but it is playing the 1 and the 5, 1, 8, 5 of the chord, with an extra 4 note in the middle. Okay, so a little bit easier to play than, say, which they could have had to fully arpeggiate the thing. It's interesting to get that one extra note there that's not in the chords though. And that's especially interesting when we get to this next bit, where we get this, because we're still playing the chords, but we're not jumping down to a B there. We're going from E to D sharp. So we're just going down 1 semitone, and the other 2 notes stay the same in the middle. The D and the E. Is that D and E? Should be, surely, but it isn't. No, it isn't. It's A and B. The A and B stay the same, which makes sense because we're on a B major chord, and the A then isn't just the added 4, which doesn't really coincide with the chord. This makes it an A7 chord, a B7 chord, sorry, B7 chord with an A. And we're in first inversion because we're on this D sharp. But it's still doing the same thing until we get to the C chord there. And I think that's what we do, but I'll have one more listen to it. Oh, hold on a moment. Oh, my mistake. We're actually not changing bass notes there at all. We're not going down to the D sharp. We just keep on doing E. So then what we get is an E chord, B minor, followed by a B chord with E in the bass. Interesting thing. Tonic pedal. One chord totally doesn't fit that pedal, but it keeps on going. It sort of, feels like one part is trying to pull away, whereas the other is just going straight on its journey. Something like that. Okay, so that last 4 bars there, we do one of our normal E minor, then we do shift down to C, not keeping the tonic pedal going the whole time, and we do basically the same pattern, but now it's not 4/5 or like a normal 4/5 in C, because that wouldn't fit in the key. So we get this augmented 4th interval. It's not very impactful though, it just fits with the key. And then we do a similar thing with B in the bass, and that's for our G chord, G, but with B in the bass. And then we do finally get our D sharp in the bass as we're moving back up to that B chord. So the whole thing there for the bass, we do this 5 times. There's our 4th one now, 5th one, then down to C, then to B, then to D sharp, and then we repeat. And now we've got me singing and breathing quite a lot. So it's quite a nice melody. It's different to everything else that's going on, and it fits with the chord changes, right? Even when we get here, gosh, what's wrong with me? Stretch it like a bird, squeeze. So all the main notes fitting on the main beats here are meeting the chord. There's no suspensions. There's no unexpected notes, and then each of the notes, apart from like, which comes just after one small fourth interval, every other note is approached by step. So it's not doing anything massively untoward, unusual. It's fitting well with the chords as we have them so far. Let's see what continues to happen. I think it's a exact repeat, this next bit. Okay, we've also got some hi-hat in there. Did we have that before? No. It's not that. So in this next bit, hi-hat comes in, which is a very subtle thing. I've never noticed it before, but it is there, and it is therefore guiding us more forwards, pushing us into the next beat each time. Yeah, so just one tiny change to the melody there. Instead of like a bird squeeze, I'm not going to critique the lyrics. It's like the newborn. Okay? And it's not what we had on that Chemtrails one. I'm not really going fairground or even too gothic here. Like if we went like the newborn, it would fit with Muse's aesthetic a lot of the time, but this one is actually doing a more tasteful, shall we say, like the newborn, rather than the chromatic interval in the middle. Okay, we just had two lovely splash cymbals and another, but not one on this fourth set of 2 bars. But then it does come in again after that. Interesting, yeah, it's just a little bit more information, just a little bit more giving your hand away as to what instruments are going on in this song. But it's still very quiet, very spooky, and the melody has changed here as well. Now we've got a jump up. 'Cause you've seen when you've seen. Very different. Totally unlike what we've had before. And then we have it again. See, which is like what we had before. Because what we had before, just repeated. And then we had a sort of version of it. So it's almost like AABA, like 32 bar song form. This is a little bit of a departure from that, but we still get our AA. Seen, A, seen. And then we get too much. Okay, interesting chromatic thing there. We've always had that in the music, so between the between those chord changes that we've had, there has been this chromatic line hidden, but now it's very much the foreground as the main bit of the melody. Okay, well, how does it continue? Okay, so the melody, too young, big jump, big 6th jump, and really this melody has been getting higher in these last 2 things. We were down here before, and then we got up to here before, and now we're all the way up here. So young. Still 2 A sections there, but again, different melodies this time. So this is everyone. And then our B section is somewhat more dramatic. It's an inversion of what we had before. We had, but now it's moving up in the same kind of way that we moved down before. Yeah, quite fun. And then we end on that B chord with the D in the bass. So it's the dominant chord, and we've got the leading note in the bass if we're thinking classically, so it's really not feeling like we want to stay there too long. Everything does quite a flourish as we get there, kind of thing. And then yeah, some I want to call it backwards piano noise, but it might well not be that. There is actually a 7th coming through there as well. And interestingly, before we move on, so there's a 7th somewhere in there. Can I manage that? Like that. Interestingly, all the other instruments fade, and Matt is still singing that note all the way through up till the sudden section change after this. So he's holding everyone. Stop, which is nice. Nice little thing to hold on to, as if nothing's going to change. But of course, everything will change. Okay. Ah, it's a good riff. So it's doubled down an octave. This is not with the bass playing it. This is actually just the guitar with an effect on, going not just here but here as well. So you've got both those octaves on each of these notes, and it's heavily distorted as well. Really kind of fuzzy, horrible sound. Very, very different to the plinky plonky sound we've had previous to this, right? So yeah, what's happening with the thing there is that we've got a sequence. A sequence in music is where we get a repetition of the same material, generally at a different pitch, but maybe it's at a different tempo or at a different or in a different meter. So, you know, for instance, we could do this in swing time, and then it would be, if we suddenly changed at another time to straight, that would be maybe considered a sequence. Actually, that doesn't really ring true to me. Forget what I just said. It's generally to do with pitch. That's mostly what sequences are for. So this is our beginning sequence: 1, 2, 3, 4 on the same note, ba da 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 da, and then we move up like a minor third, and then back down, and then back up, and then up chromatically to the next pitch. Okay, ba da 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 da. We do the same thing here. Ba da 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 da. Same thing. Okay. Now here we don't quite do the same thing. We have a bit of fun with the octave there, and it doesn't go to the minor third when we think it would. That's what we might expect if we were getting the whole repetition. If it was just the same, it doesn't quite do that. It does a few more octaves. D, 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 D. And then we do get that chromatic figure at the end. So it's a little bit of a development of our motif there. And then this ending is not quite the same either. It has kind of the same feel because we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4 at the beginning. But then we do something very different on the last 4 quavers there. So there's our first sequence, exact sequence there, slightly different one, quite different one, and then we're into everything coming back in. Before that, it was just the guitar by itself, and then we get bass, we get drums, we get another guitar. The original guitar somewhat gets swamped there by everything else coming in. So it's so thick here, but then you can still hear it, but the ear is very much drawn by the other elements that have come in there. And especially as we carry on there, the heavily distorted guitar actually plays second fiddle to a cleaner guitar that you can hear in the left ear. It's still not fully clean, but it's much clearer and much cleaner than the other one. We get some great chords there. C is our normal, very expected kind of chord. What's that? B flat diminished, B flat diminished 7. We've got all the notes. The fun thing about diminished chords is that they're built on minor thirds, and if you keep going up in minor thirds, after 4 minor thirds, you're back where you started. So they are sort of held together equally the whole way up. There's no note that is especially dominant, except maybe just like the bass note, because that is our lowest frequency. So our lowest frequency here is B flat. So that's what we would call this diminished 7th chord, is the B flat diminished 7th. And then we get this kind of chord, which if we didn't have this note, would be clearly an E minor chord, but we do have that note. So we're looking at James Bond kind of minor 9, minor added 9 chord here, E minor added 9. But we've also got a B in the bass, so it doesn't feel settled at all. And the B and that F sharp actually go together quite nicely, so you could maybe make an argument for this being I'm not going to listen to Katy Perry's new song, at least now, maybe in the future. You could make an argument for it being a B chord, but I don't know what you'd call that. But then it does very much go to a B chord on the next thing. I don't think it's a B7 actually, I think it's just a B. Let's have a listen. Let's have a listen to the whole thing. C. Yeah, I think we've just got very clear B energy there. Yeah, you can think of them as 2 tritones as well, diminished 7th chords. So you could think of that along with that. Oh, sorry. There we go. But they're very rarely voiced in such a fashion. You very rarely get them built as a tritone down here and then a tritone up there. Like normally we have them with notes. Actually, to be fair, that is basically what that is. So sometimes it does happen, but even if you think about it that way, they are always interacting. It's never just easy enough to take the 2 sets of intervals that you see and say that's what it is, because as well as those tritone intervals, we've actually got some very nice minor third intervals. We've got essentially a major 6th interval as well. And the major 6th intervals, if you see it as 2 major 6th intervals, kind of sounds quite nice. Anyway, yeah, that's our chord progression that we've got there. If we think of these as going through chords, they're also going through a particular sequence, which is a circle of fifths. We have E to start with, then going up to A, D, G. Okay, and then it's only, well, C is actually a continuation of our circle of fifths there. We go all the way through the circle of fifths, and then we decide to do something different when we get to that, to lead us back to the beginning. Because going all the way through the circle of fifths to get back to E would take us quite a while. So they speed it up with some fun chords. We've got quite a nice drum beat that is doing a rhythm that's entirely not followed by the rest of the thing, but the emphasis of the snare drum is on the 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 4, 1, 2, and 4. So that feels a little bit unusual. It's not. It's obviously still in 4/4, and it's not doing anything particularly crazy. I think we have crashes on basically every beat as well, which is pretty aggressive, probably unnecessary, but still sounds very fun. And quite a lot of kick drum as well. Okay, and this is very similar to what we had before, but we had a nice sort of finished. Now we have stopped repeating. Now we are in our next section, and the bass goes back to its pattern that it was doing before. So it's almost like we're going back to the beginning, but the texture is super different. The drums especially are giving us a totally different feel here. We did have hi-hat in the beginning, and then we had occasional splashes. Like, it's hard to do cymbals subtly, but I think they do pretty well there. And yeah, now it's just so much more driving, right? Because we've got snare happening on most of the beats. And we've got an offbeat kick pattern as well. So it's like, I think there's no snare on the first beat, but there's snare then on the second, third, and fourth. And after the third and fourth, we've got a kick drum as well. So yeah, it's really pushing us forwards, I would say. Cool, and there's this weird kind of kind of thing going on as well. It sounds like a really beautiful synth, like some cloud floating by, and then that jitters and dies in the wake of this newborn child. The bass sounds so trebly that I'm actually a bit suspicious that it might actually have had a doubling in guitar. It sounds like it's going through an overdrive or a heavy distortion, and that's good. It sounds great, but it sounds like there's at least two tracks doing that. There's one clean bassy track, and then there's another which sounds suspiciously tinny, like it might be a guitar, but it also might just be mic'd in a weird way or mixed in a weird way, I don't know. But anyway, that's still doing very much the same thing it was doing at the beginning, which is nice. But we have a guitar now doing, oh gosh, it's so fast. So it's doing the same chords as we had from the piano, from the keyboard at the beginning, but it's doing them now as very fast on, mute, on, mute. We've got like a quaver on and then two semiquavers off, and it's going da 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 da. So it's actually the most active thing in the ensemble there. Nothing else is moving at that pace, and it's really jittery. Really feels much more uncomfortable. To be honest, the beginning feels uncomfortable in a strange way, doesn't it? It feels a bit creepy. To be honest, I might be bringing a certain amount of creep from the video, which is very strange, into my appraisal of this. But whatever. The beginning has this airy fairy spooky kind of feel, and this section just feels much more jittery and on edge. So two really different kind of feelings based on the ensemble being different, even though the musical material is basically the same. The melody is the same as well. We're doing the same thing here. We've got some different words, and Matt is singing it in a different way, much more on, much less soft. Much more snarl and much more breath. Okay, a little swell just on that first beat there. I think another one comes in on the next scene as well. But 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it's just like a big chord, probably maybe just from two guitars, maybe from one, and it's just going bah, in a foreshadowing of the brightness of Unsustainable. Another one there, and harmony vocals. Harmony vocals not doing much. It's just that really, but they're a nice addition, filling out the texture. Matt breaks into falsetto, but it's such sweet falsetto. How could we be upset with that? I really like the fill there. Let's just have a listen to it. Ba-da-da-ba-da-ba-da. Yeah, very nice, very nice. Switching up the pattern there, right? And so we've had this really relentless snare drum on the beat, throughout the rest, and then suddenly here now it is on the first beat, but then it's not on the second beat, it's on the and after the second beat. So we really feel that rhythmic disjunct. We really feel the difference there very, very clearly. And then chorus. This is the same chords as we had in the riff, but what it isn't doing is playing the riff. That's actually absent, which is an interesting choice because it's such a banger that you would hope that the riff played whenever it could. It's such a riff, so good. But it doesn't play here, and it leaves space for the melody. Now I would say the melody is not as good. It's still powerful, and it has that D sharp, which previously was a D, so it's still aiming for some good notes, but it's much less ambitious. Really, those notes are just occupying a small amount of range. Matt is going up to the G now in a fuller tone, not in a falsetto, so it feels very impassioned because of that. But it's it's nowhere near as ear grabbing as the riff was before, which was really had its programming. This is seemingly just some notes. I can't see the specific meaning of any of these notes. That said, these chords now are more full, so we can hear, because the guitars are doing something slightly different, we can hear what each of these chords are. And yeah, we get the E minor, A minor, a D and a G, and then C, the D and the G being major there. That's kind of what we would expect from just being in E minor, so nothing super weird about that, but it's nice to have it confirmed by the thicker harmony here, and that feels I don't know, more comforting, or at least more grounded in this section than what we've had before. It feels like the rhythmic impetus sort of dies off as we get to this section. We haven't got the going on here either, so everything is dwelling more. It's more languorous and maybe more sad overall. Maybe that's what's achieved by not having the riff and having this sort of impassioned melody. Yeah. The bass is doing something similar to the melody, which is this kind of thing. So it's not playing ba 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 ba, but it's playing ba da 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 da. So it's playing the one of the chords and then the three of the chords each time, and that keeps it moving up in a similar way, a sort of homage to the riff. The riff, of course, will be coming back very soon. The melody in that second part of the... have we just heard that? Yes. The melody in that second part does the same beginning. Destroy the spineless, and then just break the silence. But then, 'cause I'm drifting away, we have another really romantic sixth interval up, like we had when we went, 'cause you've seen... Yeah, sorry. Too much. No, it's 'cause I'm drifting away. So now the melody is really coming into its own. Away from you. There's a really lovely ad-lib at the end there. Yeah, it's so good. There's another song that does it, more recent, but I can't bring it to mind, sadly. Yeah, no, not going to bring it to mind. Okay, we're back to every beat. Ba, ba, ba. Okay, with the section we just had was some build-up. It's like oh no, he's not coming. Oh, he's coming. Slowly getting higher on the guitar, which is nice. But I don't know, a little bit cheesy maybe, but it's interesting to have that in a song that is otherwise pretty I don't know, it's silly to say it for a 6-minute song, but it is actually quite compact and quite well contained, at least in this kind of thing. It doesn't have much extra weight, but this is one particular moment where it's like, actually we're gonna wait and we're gonna build up to it, and to be honest, it's quite a nice payoff. We get this really cool super fast picked thing. Yeah, so real sort of tremolo picking on the strings as we go up and down these arpeggios, and this guitar solo is really just doing what we heard from the piano at the beginning. It's doing it at half speed, but we're playing twice as fast. So instead of the notes are going, but each of those is like picked 4 times. And then we do get a slight difference as we go on there. Let's hear it. Yeah, it's really full of energy, full action-packed solo there. Each repetition isn't quite exact. It's not like we're really specifically going 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1. Yeah, as we might if it was super exact. Instead, we've got room for much more feeling to come through with the whammy pedal that is being used to put it up the octave. Up there. He could play it up there, but it's clear that that's not happening because occasionally it just goes woo and just goes down an octave or close to an octave. That's lifting the foot off the pedal, just going all the way down to the proper pitch. It only does it for very small moments, but it's used in a very characterful way and adds a level of unpredictability to the solo that is really fun, because we on the surface know this material. We've heard it previously in the beginning section, and it's basically the same as the verse, but he's found a new way of doing it, and it is very exciting and fun. Carrying on, next verse. There's a very honky synthesizer in the left ear. Have a listen to that. I'm just going to go back and check if that's in the first bit. It's not there at the moment. No, it's not there because it has a very haunty kind of sound, so I thought it might be, but it's just here doing those notes. Again, I really do feel like that bass is doubled in a guitar. The ensemble sounds different here, and the guitar doesn't quite sound as loud, but it also sounds more clearly like a guitar. But whatever. Yeah, in that part of the verse, the ensemble is not quite the same as in the second verse, where the guitar was doing tick 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 tick. Instead, replacing that, we've got this version of the chords again. Same kind of thing, but it's now in a slightly squawky, haunted kind of sound synthesizer in the left ear. So a different ensemble. It doesn't feel better than the others, but it is less driving. It feels maybe more comfortable. But then we get the boom, and we're also back in with jack. So we've got everything now. There's the harmony vocals as well. Such a small bit of harmony vocals. It's not choice. And we get it again. But it's not quite the same, is it? Let's just check that. The fill I'm talking about. Maybe it is. Let's see. Ba-da-da, ba-da, ba-da. And this one... Oh. Come on. Here we go. So it isn't quite the same actually. I think the rhythm is very similar, but we've got more cymbals going on and less kick drum. It's an interesting change because it feels very similar, but because we're playing it on a different part of the kit, there's this real textural difference there, even though it sounds similar. No, I didn't write this. This is by Muse, who are a band who exist without me in them. I mean, it's very flattering to think that I could have written something like this. I've written some songs. You can find them. They are under Seb Fail, and I could scroll down in here, and you know, you can have a listen to them wherever they are. Oh yeah, no, that's not. It doesn't matter. They're in there. One's called Satsumas, and one is called More Boring Than Trains. And so yeah, you can have a listen to those. But I definitely didn't write them. These ones. I did write the other ones. These are much more successful than anything I've done. So let's carry on. Very similar to what we had before in the previous chorus. The bass seems really much more present. We've got those constant crashes. Crash, crash, crash. Oh, I'm not there, but now we're back in with them. And here's the riff, finally, it's returned. Oh gosh, we missed it. Nice. Ba-da-ba. Got that rhythm back as well. Ba-da-ba-ga. Da-da-ba-da. Okay, so this is very, very similar to what we had before, but just a little bit thicker, isn't it? The bass is so heavy, the drums feel like they're compressed to hell. And that's not to go unnoticed there. That it's so nice, especially on the C. Getting that B flat in there is really lovely. And then the chord fades, it goes flat, which is nice, and then some other haunted sounds doing the same kind of thing. So it's really like the beginning there, where we've got one chord going down and the other going up. So they're both doing that same kind of thing, it's very, very different because these are seemingly by voice. Maybe it's a voice synthesizer or something like that, but they're going and they're through lots of bit crushing or some other kind of bit distortion, and then there's this rallentando as well, getting slower and then really drawing out that final chord. Yeah, some cool stuff going on there, definitely. I hope you agree, and we will carry on. A sudden change of key. Yeah, great. Nice chord sequence. It's simple, but it's also not what you would expect. So it's a C minor chord played with some lovely arpeggios on a synthesizer, going off into space. The reverb is enormous, but also I don't know. It's not oppressive. It feels like they've taken out some low end of it or something like that, so it doesn't let anything linger and sit. It's just going off into the ether. So we've got those arpeggios which fit quite nicely into a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get the next one on the next chord, B flat, C minor to B flat to F, F minor, tune back up. and then back to C minor. So that's what we've got. There's only 3 chords, but we have a 8-bar pattern. So how does that fit? C minor, B flat, F minor, C minor. Now what would normally happen is we would go C minor again, and we would repeat that. It would be a nice 4-bar repetition. Everyone understands what's going on. But instead, what we do is we get back to the C on the 4th, and then we go to the B flat straight away on the 5th, and then this is on the 6th, and then we have 2 at the end just on the C minor. So it just doesn't do what you would expect, even though the progression is just always going in the same direction. It's just going C to B flat to F, F to C. It's always doing the same thing, but because of the way that it fits with the 8-bar loop, each change feels slightly different to what it could do if it was put in only a 4-bar loop, where it would sound much more conventional. It's a subtle thing. It's not massively important, but it does add a refinedness to the composition, I would say. Oh yeah, and obviously the synthesizer that begins, which sounds much more like a piano, in fact is a piano, then is changed into, like, it fades out and in fades a really clear synthesizer, very, very electronic sounding thing, very whizzy kind of sound. Yeah. And as we come in this next section, the arpeggios are doubled down the octave. I think it's just down 1 octave, hard to tell, but yeah, we've got and we've got up at the top as well. The chords come in really strongly from the guitar and the bass. They're very locked in together, as well as the drums. And the difference between the first bar and the second bar in rhythm is really cool. We've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 very clearly in that first bar, and then it's ba ta ga ta 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 in the second bar. So very, very much more off the beat kind of feel in the second bar, whereas the first bar is really on the beat, and that repeats for each of these sets of 2 bars, which there are 4 of. So in this bit, the guitars have disappeared. We've still got the whizzy synthesizers. We've still got the drums, though the drums are not quite playing as crazy a drum beat. Actually, let me just check that. It's pretty similar. It's pretty similar. I think it's not quite as... yeah, it's not as crash heavy. We've got instead we've got open hi-hat rather than crash. So the crashes, which are really a Musey thing of just having crashes on every beat, which is an onslaught. Now we've got open hi-hat on every beat instead, so it's not quite as crazy. And the bass is still there, but now the bass is doing something much more interesting. Something like yeah, it's a particular riff. It's a good riff. It has this particular rhythmic feature that we've had before, but it jumps just before the second bar comes in. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it gets in just on that last semiquaver with the next next chord. The first one is C, and then we jump to B flat just before we come in the next thing. So a little bit more offbeat than what we've had before, which, yeah, sounds good. It sounds good. The melody is sort of the same area as the previous song. It's quite stepwise, but it is giving away more of the mode or more of the key than we would expect from a melody just straight off. Those are fine. Those notes, we would expect those straight away. Ba-da-da-da-da. Very, very straightforward. Every melody has those in. Not really, but lots of do. And then this is our note that we wouldn't expect straight away. Da-da-da-da. It's really saying, yes, absolutely, we're in C minor, C Aeolian mode. There's no confusion there. The chords have given us that information previously, but in the melody to have that note, and also for it to fall a semitone there, is well, more commitment, I suppose, to that particular scale than it needs to have given. Most melodies won't give you a large proportion of the notes straight off, but here we have one of our defining notes. You know, if that was here, which it could easily be, then we would be in a Dorian kind of feel, and it would be super, super different. But it's really emphasizing that flat six that makes it Aeolian, and it's a nice thing to do for a melody, to be really committing to that particular scale. And interestingly, it actually comes back to that as the next part of the melody. We just do that once at the beginning, and then the B section maybe. The only thing that they have in common is that. So it's becoming a defining feature of that particular part of the melody. Same thing here. Same ensemble. Oh, there's quite a lot of compression and maybe some deliberate distortion on the vocals too. Okay, sudden change. So, we're suddenly all on the beat. Ba da 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 da. Even in the second bar, it's all just really heavy on the beat. But there is also this going off into the stratosphere in the background there. And most importantly, I totally forgot, we're in C major now all of a sudden. Well, kind of. We're in C major. We were in C minor before, and it was very comfortable. And then, out of nowhere, C minor becomes C major. Lovely stuff. A sudden tonic. What's it called? A tonic major key change, I guess, which is really lovely. Quite unusual. And we only have two chords there. C going to A minor, basically its closest chord, and then back to C, but now with a G in the bass. We still have those whizzy synthesizers doing arpeggios. They're really characteristic of this song. I guess you could argue that that particular thing is really the thing that is giving us bliss in this. It's giving us the happiness, it's giving us the excitement more than anything else. But yeah, then we do turn a little bit dark by going, instead of back to the C, we go to E instead, and the E not very closely related. The E isn't even really closely related to C minor. In fact, it's further away probably. So that's a really strange place to get to. And then it steps up, in one of the most tragic tragic chord change moments. This G sharp in the E chord becomes an A flat in the F minor chord. And then we're able to get back to C minor. Yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, Undisclosed Desires is, well, it is a bop, and it's fun. But I was such a fan of Black Holes and Revelations that I really took against Undisclosed Desires as a cheapening of what I thought Muse was. It was really tragic for me to hear this R&B jam suddenly on the next album. But I have come to enjoy that one a lot more than, say, Follow Me on The Second Law or Mercy on the one after that, which I think are really tragic sort of attempts at the same kind of thing. Or Big Freeze, Jesus, hate. Anyway, we're not talking about those, we're talking about this lovely set of songs here. I did have one more thing I was going to say about that, which was about the melody, which is basically just arpeggios. We get a C arpeggio with a really long held E to begin with, which again fits with both these chords. Give me all. There's a little bit of a chromatic thing but it's almost really that's just a personal choice. It's not deliberately going for it's like some vaudeville act, and then we get all the peace and joy in your mind. So we come back down a different route to what we had, but it's a really interesting arpeggiated melody there. And then as we get to the F minor, using a different scale again, and ending on the G, which is not part of that chord. That's the first time we've done that really in these two songs. But then there is part of the C minor that we get to next. Alright, what's going on next? Very similar to the beginning, or the intro bit. Oh, but the bass is doing its riff. Let me just check if the bass is doing its riff the first time it comes. Yeah, it is. Okay, I just missed that the first time. Very, very similar than this section. Just bringing us back into the first verse, the second verse. Same melody, same ensemble really. Maybe a little bit thicker on the synths there. And then, oh yes, the melody there is totally different. The first part we had what we were expecting, and then the next part we have much more, I want to say elegiac, but that's not really the word that I mean. But yeah, it goes up to the F. So easy to love. So it's more impassioned, and it's definitely sung in a stronger way than the previous bit. Cool. We've got back to our C major here. Nice. We've still got that going on. Okay, the drums have changed in this next bit. Okay, so we got a double chorus there. Double chorus. We had the same thing happen where we went down to the E, but then from the E we didn't go down to the F minor. We went back to C and did the same thing. And then we went to the F minor. So we got double chorus, different lyrics in both, and different melody almost. We still have this big heavy emphasis on the E through these chords. Nice little bit there. And then no, it's not. It doesn't do that this time, does it? It goes peace and joy in your heart. So just a little bit different, going all the way up to a top E with the melody there, which is nice. And yeah, we really build towards the end here. Yeah, and then it just disappears. We've got some strange otherworldly echoes, and we've got the synthesizer, but that seems to be about it. Some chords filled out by other synthesizers, which echo into oblivion. Some strange rising thing there. Okay, guitars and drums. And the drums are really emphasizing that first beat and then coming away. Building up. They're doing that each bar. And the guitars are kind of doing the same thing, but maybe they're just too compressed. They're doing a different thing. Let me just have another listen to that. Oh yeah, they're actually giving the other melody. So Matt is doing as we expect from the verses, but they're going. Which is the so easy to love one. And then that's slightly different. Yeah, but still really giving melody there. So we've kind of got two parallel melodies going on in the guitars and in the vocals. The bass seems still absent. Is it? Let me just turn that up. It is there. Yeah. No, it is there. It's just playing. It's just playing the heart of the chords, basically, which is our classic chord sequence of C to B flat to F back to C, and we have this huge build up again, and then we're back into our lovely C major with the whirring still there. Doesn't feel too different to what we had previously. Okay, what I forgot to tell you about the double chorus is that the drum beat changes. So on the beginning of the chorus, we're just emphasizing every single beat, ba 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 ba, and then when the second part of the chorus, as in the repetition of the chorus, comes back, then the drum beat is going bum bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba, and then it goes to double time that as well, bada 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 ba, as we go on. And I think it's going to do the same thing here. Let's see. Da 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 da. Yeah. So we changed the drum beat from just being on the beat to then being ba 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 ba. So it removes some of the driving emphasis of the snare, but it has then quavers or eighth notes moving it forwards in a different way, and then we have both the snare on every beat and the eighth notes moving it together, creating a whole bigger thing. Yeah, that's really lovely, because the tempo just disappears and we're left isolated in our K-hole or our what's a happy version of that? I don't know. You just blissed out, aren't you? Really leaning into that F minor with the added G, the added ninth there. Very, very emotional chord, and then eventually that gives way to the synthesizer. Ooh, or is it the piano? Let's just have a check of that. I mean, to be fair, the synthesizer is still there, but it's back to being the piano, just like the beginning of the track, with just a bit more echoing, twinkling starlight kind of stuff going on there. Very nice. One more repetition, and then we will have faded away. And you can imagine it just going on forever. That's what fades are probably meant to do. I really don't like fades in most tracks, but I think it has a reason in that one, and I think it's nice. Okay. Space Dementia. Right. We're back in E minor. And that's a C chord. Oh. Hello. Nice. Oh, so this is already super fun, because we are playing at both ends of the piano. We are playing down low C's, and we are also playing all the way up at that top E. So we've got both ends, and then we fill out the chord once we've played those. So we're ba, da, and then we move back again to the extremes, fill in the middle, ba, da, and we have this beautiful chord sequence: E minor to C, very closely related, very nice, da, da, F sharp major, ba, da, B7. Yeah. That's what we have. The melody is actually the same as we get in Just by Radiohead. Not that I want to invite the comparisons between Muse and Radiohead. I find them very, very tedious. But we get, and then it doesn't carry on. Fortunately, we get, which is much more sort of classical based. And that's functioning really just like a secondary dominant. It's going 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so it's the dominant of the dominant chord, which then takes us back to the tonic. Lovely stuff. Yeah. And each chord is just echoing into the next, which I find alluring as well. Slight difference in this bit, isn't there? So rather than just playing those top notes by themselves, it's a spread chord. That's not easy. We also then get that added flat 9 on the F sharp major chord there, but it is the same F sharp major chord as we had before. It's just got an extra bit of dissonance in it. Okay, lovely chromatic scale there. What did we do? Yeah, so we end on a B. Do we do that? Yeah, so it's a B7 sus4 chord, but then we go all the way up the chromatic scale. From there, where's there? Okay, it is from the 4. And we end on the 3rd, making it a B major chord. It's very sort of dramatic, melodramatic, a bit silly, but quite satisfying when it finally lands there. And we're also in free time here, so yeah. So we've got all the time for things to happen. Interesting extra note that we get there. We get the C sharp coming through at the top of that arpeggio, which I think has a C natural underneath. Let's just check that. Yeah, so it goes. So we've already set up the expectation that we had a C in it, making this a flat 9 chord as well. But then we get a C sharp up there, which is super strange. Very, very clashy. It's kind of telling us that we need to move both of those down to resolve them. I think that's what happened. Yeah, so we get a restatement of the B followed by the C sharp dropping to C. So it's like this C and this C sharp drop to there. So it's parallel motion of a augmented unison. That's not something you come across very often. It sounds very apologies. It sounds very crazy. And yeah, that's lovely, isn't it? Really fast, but a little. And then it's repeated down the octave. So we get that big chord to begin with. Then we get one there. Then we get one lower. Then we get one up here again. So it's really fast. It's not quite arpeggios. They're more like scalic figures, but they're not really that either. They've got their own identity. And build, da 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 da. All these things, just building up. H8, the thing that I definitely was written as height in some source that I found. It took me so long to know that it was H8, which is something to do with chips, and I can't remember. Very annoying, thinking that he was just pronouncing height in the most incredibly annoying way for so long. So the bass is a bit lost behind the piano, because the piano is so powerful in this song, and the piano has such a big range that you don't necessarily need bass. And the bass, I think, is mainly, it's playing something like that. So it's just emphasizing those low notes even when they're not being played in the piano, just to fill out the texture, I think. Back up, dad. Yeah, really slow backbeat there, isn't it? It's on the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, leaving a bit of extra space for fun stuff on the bass drum. We've also got loads of loud cymbal noise as well, just straight from the beginning. Well, actually, okay, that is probably open hi-hat, but it's so so rattly, so open. So I could probably talk about the chord sequences in this one forever, and I will. We start with E minor, and then we do get a B chord with some of that flat B, yeah, so it's B7 with occasional flat nines going in there as well, which is really nice. Then we go back to we go to E again. Importantly, we've got this rising bass line going on here as well. Let's not forget that. So the E, we start at E, then we go to F sharp as we go to the B chord. Okay, that's quite nice. It's the second inversion, so we know we have to move on. In a classical fashion, we do exactly what you would do in a Bach chorale, for instance. We go to the first inversion of that E minor chord. Okay. So we've got G in the bass now. Then do we do that? Hang on, let me just think. No, it's not that. I was thinking of Villa Lobos. We go from E minor on G to A minor. So we've gone ba 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 ba. That's just fine. Then we go to B minor. Now B minor is an interesting one because we would have expected it 7 or a B major at least, but we go to B minor, which almost feels like a resetting of the tonal center. It feels like this is now where we are, and that is kind of how it is approached, because we get an F sharp 7 chord after that, with the C sharp in the bass. So it's almost like we're repeating what we had here, but now we're here. It's another sequence, but a harmonic sequence here, and we again go up like we would in a Bach chorale, ba, da, da. But then instead of going to the, well, if we followed that along, we'd go to E minor. Instead of doing that, we do go to B major, and B major with a D sharp in the bass, and that D sharp is just a switching around again of the tonality to lead us straight back to E minor. Really, really lovely sequence of 8 chords that just have this rising bass going through them. And it's so nice that the first 4 chords are echoed in the second 4 chords. Yeah, really great. Also, the harmonic rate is really slow. So we got 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we changed 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So it's only 2 bars, but we are going at such a slow tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That it takes us a long time to get to the next chord, but we do speed up that harmonic rhythm in this next bit. We're now only doing 1 bar per chord, and then we get back. So that makes it a little bit uneven, but it doesn't really feel uneven. It feels like 2 different sections. It feels like that first one really is very, very weighty, and then the second one is pushing forwards more. Same kind of thing happens in this next bit. Another build-up, just like the beginning. And it doesn't even feel like there's anything really added here. Such noisy hi-hats, it's unbelievable really. They're echoing in slightly different ways in both ears. Oh, I should say that's a B minor 7 chord, not a B minor chord. Great stuff, great stuff. The melody I should mention as well. So we have a moving down figure exactly like in Newborn. Da, 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 da. Is the one for me, gives me all I need. So far we've not given much away, not that there's much to give away with these very clear chord progressions, but we're really just using 4 different notes, and then na, 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 da, da, da. It's just like in Newborn as well, da, 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 da. And that na, na, which is really in all 3 of these first tracks on this album. Da, da. Then yeah, so we've broadly been moving up here. Na, 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 na. And holding that note across these first 3 chord changes is really cool. It's like a pedal, but it's only there for 3. So it just links them in the new setting as well, a new kind of key center of B minor, which is not really a new key center, but it kind of feels that way. And then which is just a fun bit of ad-libbing. What goes up to, the B in falsetto, so it's going higher again. I don't know, falsetto is obviously a clear signifier of Matt Bellamy, or at least it's very, very common in Matt Bellamy's music to use these highs, these glorious, clear, beautiful highs of falsetto, and that's what we get here too. And we get a slightly different one in the second verse, which is nice. Okay, we've really calmed down as we get to this section though. This is FF loud as possible, and then we have one last crash, and now we're to the right cymbal, and everything drum wise is really straightforward. Da 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 da, just on the beat, and it's like kick on the first beat, snare on the third beat. Very, very simple stuff. The chord sequence is amazing as well, but we'll listen to it at least once before I go into it. Yeah, an interesting synthesizer. We've got some kind of strings in there as well, doing tremolos. I can't tell if they're real or not, but they're tremoloing away. The bass is going bo do 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 do, just doing those octaves, moving down by semitone step. This is a classic descending bass line. So we had an ascending bass line, which is a much rarer thing to come across, but that is what we got in the first section. Now we've got a descending bass line. It's descending from the same place as the other one ascended from, E. So we're in E minor still, but now we're descending by chromatic interval after chromatic interval. Just semitone after semitone until we get down to B, our dominant. We're really treating this as if it is classical music. And yeah, so our chord sequence there is E minor, B major on D sharp, we've come across that one before, D minor, it's an unexpected one, but I think this chord sequence might have been ripped from Rach 2, Rachmaninoff's second piano concerto. You could have a look at that, I might be wrong. And yeah, D minor, then A on C sharp. So it's almost like we've just done the same thing. In fact, we have done the same thing. Another harmonic sequence there, but we've just moved it down a tone. And then and on C major this time, so we're not continuing the thing down here, but C major, and then it's another of these B7 sus4s going to a B7. And just before we get to the next chord, we add one extra note, which is this G, or let's call it an F double sharp, because that's its function here. It's making this B chord an augmented 7 chord instead of a normal 7 chord, like a dominant 7 chord. It's an augmented chord with a 7th in it. There's the augmented chord and there's the 7th. Yeah, fun stuff, and it's only just for a moment, so we don't really need to think of it as its own chord, because we're going somewhere with that particular chromatic progression there. Same kind of arpeggiated figures as we got on Newborn as well. We love arpeggios in this band. Okay. Let's get it there. This bit definitely is in Rachmaninoff's second piano concerto. So the bass is going up like this, which is really like Newborn now I think about it. And the melody is going down by chromatic steps. So it's just going down from G sharp to G to F sharp there, and it will continue that while the bass is going up in a very disco kind of way, doing these octaves. It's going up in the circle of fifths. So we go from actually an E major chord, which is an unexpected thing of itself, to E minor, but then it's E major again, we've got a false relation there. Then A7, D. So we've gone all the way through the circle of fifths. Not all the way. We've gone 2 stops on the circle of fifths. Same thing, exact same thing. Another harmonic sequence. And then we end it where we do it. So they expect us to end. If we started in E and ended in D, we start in D, we end in C, and that is exactly where we end up. This is really an interesting envelope to have for this synthesizer. It's so each note is so clear because it's got this kind of sound on it. I don't really like what it sounds like, but it's very spacey, isn't it? There's also some processing on the vocals. So they have, well, it's probably, I would imagine it's a flanger, and it could just be a kind of filter sweep crossing them, and so taking out certain frequencies as it goes, but it sort of feels like it's a flanger, which is a slightly different process. You've got, well, I think you can make a flanger by having the same sound source and moving them slowly out of time with each other, and so then the time difference cuts different frequencies, but that actually might be a different thing. I'll have to have a look up of how flanges work exactly, but you get this kind of thing going on as the flanger moves. Whatever is happening, there's some level of filtering of the vocals, which makes it sound weird. I think it's also doubled the vocals. Okay, did we just have the same thing? No, we didn't. We were on C, and then we suddenly tritone change to our F sharp 7 chord. How did the bass do that with its octaves going up? It just did exactly the same thing, but instead of going up just a fourth, just a perfect fourth, it goes up a little bit further to a augmented fourth. And yeah, then we're at F sharp. Where do we go from there? Well, interestingly, the bass changes direction there. It's been rising the whole time up till there, and then it moves down the B minor scale, and we end on B. And this is the bit especially that's in Rachmaninoff second piano concerto. Go from a sus4 B chord to a major B chord to a minor B chord just through chromatic movement of the melody there, while the bass is doing exactly what it has been doing, going up in octaves, and yeah, it's changed direction. It was going down, now it's going back up again. And it actually stops there on that E7 chord. Is such a strange melody, but again it's cribbed. What is that? Ah yes, of course, classic chromatic step up for a whole chord. That's my favourite bit of melody, just that. It's the 11th of the chord. So that last corner of harmony, what did we get? We were on the C, we then suddenly changed down a tritone to the F sharp, and then had a lovely perfect cadence. B sus4, B major, B minor, E7, so that's following the circle of fifths again. You could argue that C to F sharp is following the circle of fifths as well, but let's leave it for now. E7, E6, E flat 6, or E add flat 13 if you like, E add sharp 11. I mean, all of those aren't specific chords really, but that's just where the melody goes in relation to the chord. And then F7 add sharp 11 for a moment, F7, F sharp 7, and then we're ready to go back to B, and then maybe back to E. We get to the B, B7 sus4 again here. Oh, actually it's a bit more than that. No. So we've got that flat 13 in that chord coming in. That's a little bit darker than we were expecting. There's no clear fourth, actually, or third. Actually, maybe there is. It might just be hidden in the mix, but it does sound like there's a D sharp in there somewhere. Okay, not what we were expecting to suddenly come out of there. This very, very spacey, electronic sounding place. Suddenly with a chord crash. Just piano, just very clean piano. What do we have? We have this chromatic movement. We have that A. There might be a B in there as well. Is there a C? Yeah, no. So it's a B7 chord. All those notes, and the third keeps breaking from the major third to the minor third. Danger, 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 danger. What's going on? Unexpected, strange, goodness knows. Great downward scale. Is that what it does? I can't quite make it out, but yeah, it's hard to make out exactly what happens there, but it's some level of chromatic downward scale from a B all the way down 1.5 octaves down to the E, and then we're back into the next section, into the first section, really, into the build up. It just works exactly like the first verse. And the melody is very similar, it's a tiny bit different. Bum, bum, back up, bum, bum, back up, bum, bum, we keep that drum groove growing here, but we're playing on the crashes as opposed to the open hi-hats, so it sounds different. Another strange ad-lib. And then we're back to our very, very space feeling section. It's so much more chill, but it's also a lot more freaky. And the strings, do they stay around? No, the string. Oh, yeah, okay, there are some strings actually there in the left ear. They sound very programmed, they don't sound like real strings, but they're moving up in octaves. Oh, doubling the bass, actually. Not quite. They're doing something very similar to the bass. It's not really worth dwelling on, but it is there. Okay. As we got there, the ride cymbals took on a new feature. So it's been quite normal up to about here. It's still okay, and now it's starting to change, and it's becoming very, very fizzy sound. Maybe it's not actually the ride, but it's merging into the ride, whatever is going on there. Okay, nice change of drum beat here. It becomes more active, and yeah, there's more going on. Boom, 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 ba. Kind of thing, and that's good because there's not that much going on in the other parts here. Matt Bellamy is just singing one particular note, pretty much without variation. There is a little, and we're just going between two chords, B minor and F sharp major. Those are our two chords, and that note is in both, so that's nice. Sorry, it's not really F sharp major. It's more of a more of A sharp augmented chord is really what that is. There's also a high harmony. Okay, and we've changed harmony here, but it doesn't feel a million miles away. Filter stuff going on crazy on the synthesizer. Okay, so what did we have there? We had a lot of these two. So after we've finished with our B minor to A sharp thing that's going on here, we then get D major with a C in the bass, third inversion, that's the seventh of the chord, going to G major with a B in the bass. So we've got another descending chromatic bass line here. So we go past, G minor with a B flat to D with the A, and then we kind of sit on this one with a 7 sus4 and just a normal 7, and then the melody which has been hanging out on A goes down to the 7th of the chord, and then we could really nicely finish on D. Maybe Muse these days would do that, but Muse back in those days, a sudden, completely unexpected change of tonality to C. Have we had a C chord in this piece? Yes, we have. The only time we've had a C chord in this piece is more than once, but we did have one at the beginning. We had E minor to C to F sharp to B. We've had so much more of those F sharp and Bs in this latter part that this C has really struck us unawares. We did also have it in the previous section, but let's skirt over that because it doesn't help my point. I would also say that that happens in the middle of a harmonic sequence that is moving a lot, moving tonal center a lot. So I wouldn't say that the C has as much power in that section. It's really just part of the progression, part of the deliberate progression, and I don't just mean like the chosen progression. It's a specific trajectory that has the C as part of it just by necessity, whereas the C here now is super chosen, goes against everything that we were expecting. The A has C sharps in it, and then suddenly we have this massive C chord, and we have a zero going out. Everything else is rattling, just being held. Really distorted piano there, so loud that it is distorting. I don't know whether that's that it's been recorded too loud, but it's a really interesting sound. I think there's something about this one being from the demo, so it might be just that's what it sounded like on the demo. But yeah, really fast arpeggios going on the C chord, nothing out of the C. And then some beautiful harmonics going on there. Even that seventh harmonic, which is a little bit flat to Western ears. Yeah. And then we go all the way up, and then back into E minor. But now we are in 3. We've not been in 3 before. We've been in pretty regular tempo up till this point, apart from at the beginning where we were basically in a free time. Now, and I say free time, now we are in 3 time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. The piano is still there, but it's just really giving us basic chords It's much more about the atmosphere here. The drums giving us more than most of the other instruments, but the fat guitars are just filling up the space, and then those sweeping sounds going on, giving us really full sound just for those last bits. There is actually a melody that creeps through in the guitar there. Let's work out what's going on there. It's a really nice one, actually. So between the C chord and the F sharp chord, do do do, C, B, A sharp, really lovely chromatic figure. And then we go back up to B for the B chord. That's just nothing. That it feels very like Once Upon a Time in the West, which they did end up doing fairly regularly in their live sets. That particular track has some guitar like this as well. And then so when we get to the C chord now, we're not playing C, we're playing E. Going up to the sharp 11 there, but falling there to the 7th of that F sharp chord. The sus4 there. So some of these notes, are just passing notes, fitting with the chord. Well, really, this one we do keep a bit up there on the G, so it's like a suspension that eventually falls down to the F sharp. Passing note here, it seems like we're going to pass from the E to the D sharp in the next chord, but actually we stick on the E for a bit longer, so it's suspended across that chord, and then eventually we go down to the D sharp, and then we come to a lovely, powerful E minor. Whoa. Okay, and now we've just got some noise, some drum rattling. Everything feels like it's completely filling this vacuum. Strange dying sounds. One thing that is definitely present here, which I remember, is that kind of sound is the zipper on Matt Bellamy's trousers. So, a little bit of information there. Don't know what artistic purpose that serves so much, but it's definitely a visceral feeling that this bit gives you. And all fades to nothing. Oh, kind of eaten. Sound feels like it just gets swallowed. Alright, this probably is going to have to be the last one. Wow, I spent ages on that. Okay, hyper music fortunately has very little going on. That's not strictly true. We've got some crazy noise at the beginning from the guitar. Yeah, lovely feedbacky stuff. Very atonal kind of sound. Yeah. This feels like it's some tremolo picking kind of stuff again, but it's not clear exactly what is going on. There's some low frequency stuff coming through here, which you can get away with when it's just one instrument by itself, like the guitar here, but that's probably mixed out as we go through the track. Yeah, very nice. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. A good way to start any piece of music. So we've got a very strong D tonality here, but we've got a fun D7 feel, maybe with that flat 9. I've always played it that way, but yeah, no, it is there, just coming out. So we've got this Hendrix, flat 9, it's actually a sharp 9, that. Yeah, Hendrix chord there, D7 sharp 9. It's a fun way of thinking about it, but really that's not a sharp 9. What that is a minor third, while we've got the major third there. So it feels like almost the quintessential blues chord, really, with the minor and major thirds in it. And then we repeat those chords, but now they're not up here, they're down here. So we've lost that top octave really just to Matt's voice, which is walking down a Dorian scale with the sharpened 6th here. It's not minor, as we have been so regularly before. So we're in a brighter place than most of these songs tend to habituate. Yeah, there's loads of things coming through, but that is fun. That's just like butt rock, but fun. And then so it holds on that note while we have that chromatic riff there, which is nice. Yeah, so those start to alternate here. In the first bit, there was just those bits. Bow, bow, bow. And now we alternate between the power chords bit there and the bit there. I say we alternate, we get 2 of the power chords bits, and then when we would come back to this, we actually get those 2 notes. Basically like that, which is a strange choice of 2 notes. If we're in D, that's A, which is our lovely 5th, and E flat, which is our flat 2. Just a strange tritone to add in, maybe just to deliberately be clashy. It's so heavy sounding and metallic sounding. These guitars really sound very clangy, which I like. But it is, yeah, really noisy sound, which is true for a lot of this album. Actually, there's some deliberate, I would say, over compression of things so that they sound really blown out, not like full distortion, but like old-fashioned distortion, like you might get from just having an amp way too loud for it to cope with. It's interesting. Really lovely sizzle of distortion on the low bass there, while the guitar takes this higher octave again, and now the melody has moved lower. So they've switched over now. Great rhythm here. It's like a shortened version of what we had in Bliss, where we had ba da 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 da. So there we had 4 on the beat, and then we had the offbeat bit, which was very fun. Now we have just 2 on the beat, ba da, and really those are on quaver beats or 8th beats, ba da, and then we have our funky bit. It's like on off. On, off, on, off, on. Yeah, which is fun. Is really funky, funky feel to it. Very much more upbeat feel this one has to the previous 3 tracks. I guess Bliss has its bits. But yeah, what are we doing? move all the way up that Dorian scale, which doesn't feel like Dorian when it's played from the fourth note of the Dorian scale there, as it shouldn't. It should sound like Aeolian, and that's what it does. So yeah, we have these two different parts of the scale. One feels like the whole Dorian scale, and then the other feels a bit darker. And then, yeah, they're both ascending to where they want to go. Well, this first one ascends a whole octave and then jumps back down, but then that ascends to where it needs to go. So they're kind of doing the same thing, two different halves, basically the same thing, and the same rhythm the whole time, and the drums and the bass are really set in on that, whereas the guitar is pretty much just doing semiquavers, I think. It's interesting also that despite the bass scale not changing, having said that, it does. When I said it sounds more like Aeolian, that's because actually we have changed to Aeolian for that end bit, and that's more clear in the in the guitar chords, which give us D minor, A minor, G major, and then G minor, right? So that's where the action is happening. D minor, we would normally expect a D, G major thing. That would be what we had in Aeolian mode. But we have G major, which gives us the Dorian, which is nice with the bass riff as well, giving us it there. That lovely B natural, and then it comes to a B flat, and the bass plays that too. So everything is working together, and I am just not paying attention. Major, minor. Again, super loud open hi-hats here, just really rattly. So I find the melody here interesting. It's just these three notes. I can't even tell you why, but yeah, just going up to the, just holding that minorness there. Maybe it feels like a denigration of the rocky feel of the song, or the punky feel of the song, or the funky feel of the song. All of those are not expecting long held melody notes. Everything else is quite punchy and short and clipped, whereas these long notes, da, 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 especially on the third of the chord, saying we are a minor chord, we are minor, okay, be sad, basically. It's an interesting feel, just going very against everything else that's going on with these long notes. It's nice. I think it's underrated. We have some harmony vocals up here, getting that particular thing. That is a common descending bass line, actually, but here it's put in the harmony at the top, which is nice. That's our favourite line in this album. Same as link it to the world. Same as is the one for me. I cut my name in your heart. All the same. Here it turns, and that's a melodic sequence. And then we jump back up, but not quite as far. So nice. Is what we get next. So silly. And yeah, some nice pick scrape sounds there as well, which I always like. Those flams are very interesting. It's really on the beat here, which feels very different to the previous section. But dum da clump clump, dum da clump clump. Yeah. Yeah, it just feels. It feels clowny, doesn't it? It feels like clown kind of music. So we've got the melody from the beginning, while the main melody is being shouted out on top of that. You know what I don't want you. Just one note. I'll say it again. I think when you hold just on one note for a melody, that's a more aggressive thing to do. It just holds, but then it does go, which feels, yeah, more sort of less aggressive, more teasing. That's what I get from that. Otherwise, this is all the same as the second part of the intro. After the noise and after this high one, now in the low part. It's actually on an A, which is really high to be singing in this particular way, and so it really feels very aggressive. Okay, really nice fill there. I'm not going to go into it, but it's really lovely. And then we're back into the verse, but we feel a bit more open because we're missing the guitars. We've just got the bass and the drums. It's still very strong, very thick kind of atmosphere. Yeah, we've got a woo woo kind of thing there, which is nice. That's probably playing around with the chaos thing, or the yeah, he's got a twiddly knob on his guitar. Yeah, so instead of doing these chords really strong in the 16th semicravers, now they're doing the newborn thing, arpeggiating up and down. So claggy, so metallic. Yeah, I love it. It's really nice to have those two melodies against each other, this really angry one and this almost jokey one at the top. They're very contrasting. And that maybe is my favourite bit of Matt Bellamy vocals, when that comes in towards the end. It sounds like it's his highest scream, just going down like that through a distortion pedal. Very nice, crazy stuff. Okay, so the bass is going on with our thing like normal, and the guitar kind of is, but it keeps coming out of it. Yeah. So we've just had this 7 sharp 9 chord, let's just call it for ease, D7 sharp 9, and then we get the major 7th. We've had the dominant 7th in the chord, and then we get the major 7th. It's not the root, it's not the 7th like we had prepared. It's in the middle. Sounds really uncomfortable and weird and unexpected. And it happens, I think, 3 times. that's a really classic kind of bluesy thing, which is almost lost in the noise, but it does happen twice, and it's nice. Yeah, and then there's a kind of just before the whole thing breaks down, and we get the minor third coming through there as the last note. And yeah, everything just becomes weird noise, and it seems a shame to stop there rather than to go into Plug-in Baby, but I have really been doing this for 2 hours already, so I am going to stop there. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. This one, it kind of makes sense to do it in things of 4, I suppose, because there are 12 tracks. I'll be looking at them in the order that I know them in, which is with Futurism at the end, and that is the order that it is on here, so I have no problems with that. Jolly good. Alright, thank you for accompanying me, and I hope to see you in the future with some more music. I haven't decided what album I'm going to have a look at from this year, but it should be a good one. There have been quite a few good ones, and I will hope to show you one of those soon. See ya!